Chapter 2. Ananda, you have told me that you saw my fist of bright light. How did it take the form of a fist? How did the fist become bright? By what means could you see it? Ananda replied, the body of the Buddha is born of purity and cleanness, and therefore it assumes the color of Jambu River gold with deep red hues. Hence it shone as brilliant and dazzling as a precious mountain. It was actually my eyes that saw the Buddha bend his five-wheeled fingers to form a fist which was shown to all of us. The Buddha told Ananda, today the Tathagata will tell you truly that all those with wisdom are able to achieve enlightenment through the use of examples. Ananda, take for example my fist. If I didn't have a hand, I couldn't make a fist. If you didn't have eyes, you couldn't see. If you apply the example of my fist to the case of your eyes, is the idea the same? Ananda said, yes, world honored one. Since I can't see without my eyes, if one applies the example of the Buddha's fist to the case of your eyes, the idea is the same. The Buddha said to Ananda, you say it is the same, but that is not right. Why? If a person has no hand, his fist is gone forever, but one who is without eyes is not entirely devoid of sight. For what reason? Try consulting a blind man on the street. What do you see? Any blind man will certainly answer, now I see only black in front of my eyes. Nothing else meets my gaze. The meaning is apparent. If he sees blackness in front of him, how could his seeing be considered lost? Ananda said, the only thing blind people see in front of their eyes is blackness. How can that be seen? The Buddha said to Ananda, is there any difference between the blackness seen by blind people who do not have the use of their eyes and the blackness seen by someone who has the use of his eyes when he is in a dark room? So it is, world-honored one. Between the two kinds of blackness that's seen by the person in a dark room and that's seen by the blind, there is no difference. Ananda, if the person without the use of the eyes of his eyes, who sees only blackness, were suddenly to regain his sight and see all kinds of forms, and you say it is his eyes which see, then when the person in a dark room who sees only blackness suddenly sees all kinds of forms because of a lamp is lit, you should say it is the lamp which sees. If it is the case of the lamp seeing, it would be a lamp endowed with sight, which couldn't be called a lamp. And if the lamp were to do the seeing, how would you be involved? Therefore, you should know that while the lamp can reveal the forms, it is the eyes, not the lamp, that do the seeing. And while the eyes can reveal the forms, the seeing nature comes from the mind, not the eyes. Although Ananda and everyone in the great assembly had heard what was said, their minds had not yet understood, and so they remained silent, hoping to hear more of the gentle sounds of the Tathagata's teaching. They put their palms together, purified their minds, and stood waiting for the Tathagata's compassionate instruction. Then the world-honored one extended his chilla cotton-webbed bright hand, opened his five-wheeled fingers, and told Ananda and the great assembly, when I first accomplished the way, I went to the deer park, and for the sake of Yanata Kaundinya and all five of the bhikshus, as well as for you of the fourfold assembly, I said, it is because living beings are impacted by gas dust and affliction that they do not realize Bodhi or become Arhats. At that time, what caused you, who have now realized the holy fruit, to become enlightened? Then Anattakawundinya arose and said to the Buddha, of the elders now, present in the Great Assembly. Only I received the name understanding because I was enlightened to the meaning of the word gas dust and realized the fusion. World Honored One, it is like a traveler who stops as a guest at a roadside inn, perhaps for the night or perhaps for a meal. When he has finished lodging there, or when the meal is finished, he packs his baggage and sets out again. He does not remain there at leisure. The host himself, however, does not go far away. Considering it this way, the one who does not remain is called the guest, and the one who does remain, is called the host. The word guest then means one who does not remain. Again, when the sky clears up, the morning sun rises with all resplendence, and its golden rays stream into a house through crevice to reveal particles of dust in the air. The dust dances in the rays of light, but the empty space is motionless. Considering it this way, what is clear and still is called space, and what moves is called dust. The word dust then means that which moves. The Buddha said, so it is. Then in the midst of the great assembly, the first come one bent his 5 wheeled fingers. After bending them, he opened them again. After he opened them again, he bent them again and he asked Ananda, what do you see now? Ananda said, I see the first come one's 100 jeweled wheeled palms opening and closing in the midst of the assembly. The Buddha said to Ananda, do you see my hand open and close in the assembly? Is it my hand that opens and closes, or is it your seeing that opens and closes? Ananda said, the world honored one's jeweled hand opened and closed in the assembly. I saw the first come one's hand itself open and close. It was not my seeing nature that opened and closed. The Buddha said, what moves and what is still? Ananda said, the Buddha's hand does not remain at rest, and since my seeing nature is beyond even stillness, how could it not be at rest? The Buddha said, so it is. Then from his wheeled palm, the first come one sent a precious ray of light flying to Ananda's right. Ananda immediately turned his head and glanced to the right, and then he sent another ray of light to Ananda's left. Ananda again turned his head and glanced to the left. The Buddha said to Ananda, why did your head move just now? Ananda said, I saw the first come one emit a wonderful precious light which came by my left and right, and so I looked to the left and right. My head moved of itself. Ananda, when you glanced at the Buddha's light and moved your head to the left and right, was it your head that moved or your seeing that moved? World Honored One, my head moved of itself. Since my seeing nature is beyond even cessation, how could it move? The Buddha said, so it is. Then the first come one told everyone in the great assembly, suppose other living beings called that what moves, the dust, and what does not dwell, the guest. You noticed that it was Ananda's head that moved. The thing did not move. You also noticed that it was my hand which opened and closed. The thing did not stretch or bend. Why do you continue to take something moving like your body and its environment to be in substantial existence, so that from the beginning to the end, your every thought is subject to production and extinction? You have lost your true nature and conduct yourselves in upside-down ways. Having lost your true nature and mind, you recognize objects as yourself, and it is you who cling to the flowing and turning of the revolving wheel. When Ananda and the great assembly heard the Buddha's instructions, became peaceful and composed both in body and mind. They recollected that since time without beginning, they had strayed from their fundamental true mind by mistaking the shadows of their casually conditioned differentiating minds as something real and substantial. Now, on this day, they had awakened to such illusions and misconceptions, like a lost infant who rejoices in beloved mother after a long separation. They put their palms together to make obeisance to the Buddha. They wished to hear such words from the first common as to enlighten them to the dual nature of body and mind. What is false and what is real? What is empty and what is substantial? What is subject to production and extinction, and what transcends production and extinction? Then King Prasenajit rose and said to the Buddha, "In the past, when I had not yet received the teachings of the Buddha, I met Katyayana and Varatiputra, both of whom said that this body is annihilated after death and that this is nirvana. Now, although I have met the Buddha, I still have doubts about their words. How much I wish to be enlightened to the ways and means to perceive and realize the true mind, thereby proving that it transcends production and extinction. All those who have outflows also wish to be instructed on this subject." The Buddha said to the great king, "Now I ask you, as it is now, is your physical body like Vara, indestructible and living forever, or does it change and go bad?" "World honored one, this body of mine will keep changing until it eventually becomes extinct." The Buddha said, "Great king, you have not yet become extinct. How do you know you will become extinct?" "World honored one, although my impermanent, changing, and decaying body has not yet become extinct, I observe it now, and every passing thought fades away. Each new one fails to remain, but gradually perishes like fire turning to ashes. This perishing without cease convinces me that this body will eventually become completely extinct." The Buddha said, "So it is. Great king, at your present age, you are already old and declining. How do your appearance and complexion compare to when you were a youth?" "World honored one, in the past, when I was young, my skin was moist and shining. When I reached the prime of life, my blood and breath were full. But now, in my declining years, as I rise into old age, my form is withered and wizened, and my spirit dull. My hair is white and my face is in wrinkles, and I haven't much time remaining. How can I be compared to how I was when I was full of life?" The Buddha said, "Great king, your appearance should not decline so suddenly." The king said, "World honored one, the change has been a hidden transformation of which I honestly have not been aware. I have come to this gradually through the passing of winters and summers. How did it happen? In my 20s, I was still young, but my features had aged since the time I was 10. My 30s were a further decline from my 20s, and now at 62, I look back on my 50s and healthy and healthy. World honored one, I am contemplating these hidden transformations.